At his own wedding, my ex-husband didn't look at the bride. He stared at me through the kitchen window, then pulled me into the hallway, and said I made a mistake. Why did my ex-husband want to stop his wedding when he spotted me? After 12 years, my ex-husband left me because I wasn't excited. They were his exact words. Despite not loving me, he said he did. He wanted more from life since I was predictable and dull. I was 36 and had spent my adult life making a home with this man. I worked double shifts at a restaurant to fund his graduate education. I supported him through 4 career transitions. His job kept moving us, so I lived in 5 cities. He sat me down one evening and informed me he met someone else. Her name was Madeline. She worked at the gym at 28. It happened suddenly, and he couldn't control his emotions. He hoped we could stay friends because I was so important to him. The divorce ended 9 months later. He received the house since he was on the mortgage, even though I paid half for years. A tiny payment barely covered my relocating expenditures. At 37, I started afresh with a suitcase and the cooking talents I'd learned in restaurants for over a decade. I worked at a local catering company after returning home. Within 30 months, I saved enough to start a business. Every weekend, holiday, and event I could schedule, I worked. Quality food and reliable service became my reputation. I had a small crew and expanding clientele by year 4. My creations from nothing made me proud. An unfamiliar number called me one afternoon. It was my ex-husband. My catering business was mentioned to him via mutual acquaintances. My culinary skills were always known to him. He then asked if I could cater a June wedding. Asking whose wedding? Said his. They wanted the best caterer for his wedding to Madeline, and everyone recommended my company. He said having me on their big day would mean so lot to them. He stated Madeline wanted my cuisine at her wedding because she liked the online menu samples. I listened to him urge me to cook for the lady he left me for. He didn't find anything odd. He suggested it like a favor to an old friend. He acknowledged our background but said we were grown-ups. He hoped I had moved on like him. He requested a discount because we were family. Yes, I said. Why I agreed is beyond me. I may have wished to prove my closure. Maybe I wanted to see their faces when they understood my success. Maybe I wanted the money because weddings are profitable and business is business. I planned their menu for 10 weeks. I worked with their venue and planner to nail every element. I never spoke to Madeline. I received inquiries from her through my ex-husband, who treated me like an assistant. She requested 6 courses. She requested a raw bar, spaghetti station, and 8-way dessert table. Elegant but not formal was her goal. I received updates, revisions, and demands from my ex-husband 3 times a week. He always closed the calls by thanking me for being mature about everything. The wedding was early June. At 1 p.m., my team and I set up at the venue. With the ceremony at 5:30, we had plenty of time. My ex-husband entered while I organized cooking stations. He froze at the doorway, staring at me. In my chef coat, with my hair back and a clipboard, I reviewed the timeline with my sous chef. He was silent for a while. Then he remarked, "I looked great. The business must be treating me nicely," he said. He inquired about my relationships. I told him it wasn't his problem and continued working. The ceremony began promptly. I watched 180 visitors sit in the garden from the kitchen window. After the music started, Madeline went down the aisle in a big white dress that cost more than my first automobile. The altar was where my ex-husband waited for her. He seemed nervous, but so do all wedding guests. Before the officiant spoke, my ex-husband looked toward the building, kitchen, and window where I was standing. Our eyes met briefly. The officiant requested objections. My ex-husband didn't speak yet didn't ignore me. The ceremony freezes when my ex-husband stares at me instead of his bride. I can see Madeline's uncertainty turning to worry as she follows his look to the kitchen window where I am. I leave the window instantly, my heart racing, as Harper holds my arm and whispers to focus on the food stations. Clearing his throat, the officiant repeats the objection question. I hear my ex-husband say, before fading into quiet that unsettles 180 guests. Connor, the best man, leans in to whisper urgently via the kitchen side door. I ignore the ceremonial turmoil and focus on the spaghetti counter while Madeline's makeup pales. Harper takes the serving spoons from me and tells me to check the dessert table because my hands are shaking. The ceremonial music has stopped, and people are whispering confusedly through the open windows. The dessert table sits at the far end of the kitchen, and I count and position the 8 selections we made. My hands shake nonstop. Because I can't straighten a serving knife, I put it down 3 times. Harper arrives beside me and softly places the knife. She doesn't speak, but her eyes worry. Victoria, the wedding coordinator, rushes into the kitchen and asks if we can delay cocktail hour since the ceremony needs a few minutes to settle a problem. I say we can hold the hot appetizers, but the cold items are already plated, and the time will be off if we wait. She nods and leaves hurriedly. Though not shouting, I can hear voices in the yard through the walls. No ceremony ends after 12 minutes. Through the window, I see guests standing up and nervously milling around while Madeline and my ex-husband have a heated silent confrontation near the altar. Emily, the maid of honor, holds Madeline, while Connor keeps my ex-husband from escaping by blocking the aisle. A perplexed photographer has stopped snapping shots and is standing off to the side. Some guests check phones. Others whisper worriedly. Raj Patel, the venue coordinator, tells me the ceremony is taking a small break and asks if we can serve cocktail hour appetizers early to keep attendees busy. I send my staff out with lunch trays, happy for the logistics distraction, even as my mind raced with what's occurring outside. Our crab cakes, stuffed mushrooms, and bacon-wrapped dates are handled quickly by my crew. I watch them negotiate the puzzled wedding guests, who appear relieved to have something other than the altar drama to focus on. My ex-husband arrives at the kitchen doorway in his tuxedo, flushed and desperate, and says he needs to talk to me now. Harper intervenes and tells him to leave because this is a professional kitchen during an event, but he's staring at me with an expression I haven't seen since our early dating days. He begs with wide eyes. Running his hands through his hair messes it up. He seems younger and vulnerable. As when we met, I reply it's fine and walk with Harper to the service hallway, where he apologizes and says he made a big mistake and saw me today made him realize what he gave up. I feel nothing but a strange detached clarity as he rushes to say how I look confident and successful and remembers why he fell in love with me. Watching him talk is like watching a stranger I used to know. I interrupt him and ask if he's truly doing this in his wedding tuxedo while his bride waits at the altar and 180 guests eat my appetizers. He knows the timing is bad, but he couldn't swear while staring at me through that glass. He couldn't promise Madeline forever after realizing he still likes me. He doesn't like me, I tell him. He cares about me achieving without him after expecting me to fail. He looks startled and starts to disagree, but I keep talking, claiming he liked the me that supported his aspirations, moved for his employment, and made myself smaller so he could feel bigger. He reaches for my hand, but I retreat quickly. As the caterer he hired, not his ex-wife, I offer to fix his life. I say 180 people are waiting for a 6-course meal and a team whose schedule is fouled up because he broke down at his altar. I tell him to figure out his wedding plans right now because every minute he talks to me warms my scallops and overboils my pasta water. He starts to add something else, but Victoria comes at the end of the corridor, panicked. She claims Madeline is having a breakdown in the bridal room and demands to know why the ceremony stopped, what's happening, and if he'll marry her. Like a trapped animal, my ex-husband glances at me and Victoria. I tell him he caused this and should deal it without me. I pass them and enter the kitchen, where my staff is worried. Harper grabs my arm and checks on me. I understand I'm fine. His desperate confession in the corridor just made me sleepy. Tired of his self-made drama. Tired of him expecting me to comfort him or validate his choices. I tell Harper I'm fine and we should focus on the timeline. I assure my crew will continue service regardless of the ceremony because we have a contract and reputation. All nod and return to their places. The scallops are fine. I adjust pasta water heat. I examine appetizer plating. 25 minutes pass with voices from various parts of the venue but little clarity. Victoria returns fatigued and says the ceremony is ongoing and we should be ready for the reception timing. I nod without asking what happened or how they fixed it, not wanting to know. I tell my crew we have 14 minutes to plate scallop appetizers. From the kitchen window, I see the ceremony end. Madeline and my ex-husband come down the aisle holding hands and smiling, but their smiles are wrong. Too tight. Too forced. Like they're both trying to act fine. I notice folks whispering while clapping and taking pictures. The ceremony becomes cocktail hour, and people spread out on the patio. I'm garnishing appetizer platters when someone enters the kitchen. A bridesmaid wears deep purple. She introduces herself as Emily, the maid of honor. She wants to discuss something directly with me. I leave the plating station after wiping my hands on my apron. She directly asks if I'm the ex-wife her closest friend has been obsessing about for months. Madeline, the successful caterer, hired me despite my increased charges. Yes, I'm the ex-wife. Emily's face transforms like something clicked. She claims that answers many questions concerning Madeline's behavior. She claims Madeline has been competitive and nervous about me throughout their relationship. She compares herself to his boring wife. Always asking him about me, what we did, and if he thinks about me. Emily claims my business success challenged Madeline's story about why she was better. Listening without interfering. Emily continues. Madeline chose my company after seeing my website and social media. She wanted to show she could afford luxury. Wanted to demonstrate my ex-husband she was more sophisticated and accomplished than his life with me. I realized this wedding was never about wanting my food. Madeline tried to prove she was better by hiring me and having me serve her during her wedding to my ex-husband. Emily watches my face and understands my thoughts. I thank her for the context, but I'm here to work regardless of psychology. Emily nods, but adds I should know Madeline is in the bridal room and demands my ex-husband explain why he stopped during the vows and stared at the kitchen instead of her. Emily adds that she's been monitoring their relationship for 3 years, and worries whether any of them wants this marriage or is just trying to show something. Her advice is appreciated, but I must return to work. As the celebration begins, I work on perfecting each course. My team serves oysters, shrimp, and crab legs on ice at the raw bar. The pasta station has 3 sauces and fresh bread. I oversee main course timing and coordination. My team goes well between cooking and reception. Harper looks at me like we're doing okay despite everything. I hear toast starting in the reception hall and voices through the pass-through window but don't listen. I serve truffle butter and roasted veggies with filet mignon. I inspect each plate before shipping. Despite our emotional turmoil, I'm proud of our professionalism. A man in a dark suit enters the kitchen between courses. He calls himself Connor and claims to be the finest. He requests a moment to discuss the ceremony. I clean my hands on my apron and leave the prep station while Harper works behind me. Connor seems uneasy with my team and kitchen equipment. He wants to apologize for his friend's vows conduct. He explains, my ex-husband has been really anxious about this wedding for weeks now, and today everything just came to a head. I tell him not to apologize for others' actions. Connor shifts his weight and says he knows, but he feels responsible for knowing the scenario for a long time. He says, my ex-husband often mentions me. Always blames divorce for his biggest mistake. Always brings me up when he's drunk or fighting with Madeline. Is one of a deference. Connor says his friend never takes responsibility for leaving. Rather portrays it as something that occurred to him. I feel strangely relaxed when listening. Connor talks about how he tried to encourage his friend when he started dating Madeline, but he saw the trend. The restlessness that ruined our marriage returned. Constantly seeking something new or fascinating. Connor saw my ex-husband propose to Madeline because she pushed for it and he didn't want to appear uncommitted again. Why is Connor telling me this? I deserve to know today wasn't about me, he says. It was about his friend finally realizing the cost of pursuing excitement over stability. I thank Connor for coming, but I don't need his friend's approval. I established a solid life after the divorce, and his timing today was selfish and detrimental to everyone, including Madeline, who shouldn't be humiliated at her wedding. Connor nods and says, I'm absolutely right. He attempted to persuade his friend out of this wedding months ago but was shut down. It's hard to stay friends with someone who keeps repeating the same mistakes, he says, having seen my ex-husband chase novelty and excitement while ruining his stability. Connor comments, the food is incredible. He leaves the reception area after thanking me for being professional. Harper grabs my shoulder silently. I breathe deeply and concentrate on main course plating. Filet mignon is flawlessly cooked with truffle butter on top and roasted veggies on the side. My staff carefully plates each meal, and the servers serve them in waves. The servers start sending compliments within 25 minutes. Wedding guests say the steak is the greatest they've ever had. Someone requests truffle butter recipe. Another table asks about private dinner parties. Harper squeezes my shoulder again and adds, our best work. We cooked a difficult 6-course supper for 180 guests, and it was perfect. That matters more than head table drama. I saw my ex-husband at the bride and groom table through the kitchen pass-through window during supper. Not eating much. Instead of talking to Madeline or their visitors, he stares toward the kitchen. Madeline notices his distraction. When he looks away, her expression tightens and grows angry. He nods when she leans in to speak but doesn't appear to listen. Their table talk is getting tense. Emily, the maid of honor, makes toasts and tells stories to calm the table. But the tension is obvious from the kitchen. I ignore their relationship issues and make dessert. I'm performing my work well here. An expensive suited man enters the kitchen between courses. Richard claims to be Madeline's father. Apparently, he hired my company to personally praise the cuisine. Everything has been great, and his guests say this is the nicest wedding supper. I thank him and tell my team worked hard to realize his daughter's menu vision. Richard stares at me before saying he realizes the history is tricky. He likes that I didn't compromise service. I'm surprised by his addition. He doubts this marriage will last, but the food will be good. Not sure what to say. Richard giggles and thinks he shouldn't be so honest with the caterer. He keeps chatting even though. He claims to have seen Madeline rush into this love and wedding despite his worries. He claims she's driven by competitiveness and insecurity rather than partnership. He claims my achievement sparked something in her that made this wedding about demonstrating something rather than celebrating love. After my ex-husband said I began a catering business, Richard says Madeline meticulously investigated me. She noticed my professional success on my website and social media. That was her biggest complaint about me. After her husband departed, she tried to prove she was more prosperous and sophisticated than his boring wife. Madeline suggested hiring my company, and Richard agreed because the food samples were great and he wanted her to have her dream wedding. He now understands it was a mistake because it put everyone in an impossible predicament. I thank Richard for his honesty, but I'm here to help. I'm not responsible for their marriage after today. Richard nods and acknowledges my professionalism. He returns to reception. My colleagues and I plate dessert. 8 selections elegantly displayed on the table. Chocolate cake, lemon tart, raspberry mousse, tiramisu, creme brulee, cheesecake, and fruit tart. Each garnished perfectly. I see Madeline at the kitchen doorway as I tilt a cheesecake. Still in her wedding dress, her makeup is ruined from crying. Standing there, she seems angry and desperate. She requests a private conversation. Harper looks anxious as I look at him. I dry my hands and enter the corridor with Madeline. After the door closes, we're alone in this narrow service corridor. Madeline is efficient. She claims I ruined her wedding. By appearing prosperous and confident, I made her husband doubt his decision. She adds, I remain calm and remind her she hired my company. Her husband's sentiments aren't my concern. She solicited my services. Madeline cries louder as her face crumples. Saying she knows makes it worse. She hired me to test if I was as boring and forgettable as her husband said. She wanted to convince herself she was the better, more exciting, and worth leaving a marriage for option. Seeing me today being professional and composed and clearly thriving made her realize she's been competing with a fantasy version of me that never existed. Her husband viewed me as a boring, stable person he outgrew. No, I'm none of those. Successful and confident, I've built something real. Madeline says she spent 3 years trying to be interesting enough to maintain his attention, and now she realizes that excitement doesn't work in relationships. I'm neither her rival, nor her issue. I think her relationship troubles exist independently of me, and my presence today only brought them to the surface. Madeline wipes her eyes and asks if I still like my ex-husband. My honest response is no. The divorce inspired me to create something important on my own. I told her I supported his goals for 12 years, moved for his jobs, and shrank to make him feel greater. My divorce made me discover who I was outside of being his wife. I learned my potential was considerably greater. Madeline looks at me, absorbing this. What should she do now? I tell her I can't answer that. I say she should decide if she's marrying him, or who she hopes he'll become. She must decide if she wants this relationship because it makes her happy or to win a fake competition. Madeline looks at me with tears in her eyes and asks how I stopped loving him. The question surprises me because I hadn't considered it that way. I tell her I still love my husband. I accepted they were gone. My ex wasn't someone I wanted to be with. He wasn't my 12-year partner like I imagined. I say she should decide if she's marrying him or who she hopes he'll become. She must decide if she wants this or is just trying to win something unimportant. Madeline nods slowly and wipes her eyes. She whispers thanks and returns to reception. I watch her walk down the hall in her expensive white dress and worry how she'll take what I said. Harper is arranging the last dessert plates in the kitchen when I open the door. Her concern makes her ask if I'm okay. Really? I am. I'm not broken by my ex-husband and his bride's arguments. Making things clearer. I'm seeing the situation as it is. Not as I feared. Harper squeezes my shoulder and says the desserts are ready. After checking each display, I signal the servers to start service. Perfect dessert course. 8 options on white tablecloths are offered to guests in the reception hall. First went chocolate cake, then lemon tarts and raspberry mousse. I watch from the kitchen doorway as people photograph the dessert table before choosing plates. For the evening reception, servers serve coffee and tea while the DJ plays soft music. My colleague reports that guests are asking who catered the meal. Another says table 12 wants my business card. Watching people enjoy our food makes me happy. I built this from scratch. This is my forte. Victoria enters the kitchen with her planning binder, looking more relaxed than usual. She claims this is her best wedding meal in 5 years. She says my team handled every issue gracefully and kept the food quality high despite personal issues. She requests my business cards for 3 couples getting married next year. I thank her for the referrals and give her a stack. She claims I earned them by working hard under pressure. The reception continues as we break down the kitchen. I inventory leftover food and update tracking sheets, while my team cleans stations and packs serving dishes. Harper disassembles the dessert table while 2 others disassemble the pasta station. We work efficiently because we've done this dozens of times. Each piece of equipment fits in our system. We label and pack each container in order. Someone calls my name from the kitchen entrance as I count rented chafing dishes. I turn to see Margaret in a navy dress. She smiles proudly at me like she did when I worked for her catering company. She comes over and hugs me. She's ecstatic about my creation. She says seeing me work today reminded her why she knew I'd succeed with independence. Margaret inspired me to start a business 3 years ago. She said I had the skills and discipline to succeed. Her presence at this wedding is a reminder of my progress. Margaret steps back and observes my team's efficiency in the kitchen. She compliments everyone's professionalism and our breakdown process's organization. She tells me she has something to say. She says a major corporate client needs a caterer for a year of executive events, monthly dinners, quarterly galas, breakfast meetings, and lunch presentations. Downtown financial services firm client wants consistent quality from a reliable vendor. Margaret immediately considered my company when asked for recommendations. The contract would exceed my first year of business earnings. It would build my clientele and lead to corporate accounts. Instead of my unpredictable booking schedule, It would mean steady income. I look at her, trying to process her offer. This opportunity grows a small catering business into a company. This has been my goal for 3 years. I thank Margaret for thinking of me and say I'm overwhelmed. She dismisses my thanks, saying, I earned this through consistent excellence and professional integrity. Her industry reputation is built on more than good food. People know I'm reliable and honest, and I deliver what I promise. She heard about the personal issues today and is impressed I kept quality under pressure. Her corporate client needs that level of professionalism, she says. Someone who doesn't let personal issues affect business. Someone who can handle stress without breaking down. I swallow my emotion because we're still in an event. Margaret gives me her client's number and tells me to call next week to meet. She hugs me again before returning to reception. Next hour, reception winds down. DJ packs equipment as guests leave. My team efficiently loads clean containers and rented items into our vans. I finish paperwork with Raj Patel in his kitchen area office. He verifies our invoice and contract. He says several reception guests asked for my business information. He says the venue wants me on their preferred vendor list after today's performance. He says they only recommend caterers who consistently provide excellent service and handle issues professionally. He saw how I handled the ceremony disruption without affecting food quality or timing. Future couples booking this venue should work with my company, he says. Thanks. I give him the information to add me to their vendor list. This increases referrals and bookings at a beautiful, well-paid venue. I leave for the parking lot where my team is loading the last van. After sunset, garden lights illuminate the ceremony lawn. I see my ex-husband walking across the parking lot toward us as I check my clipboard equipment list. Though still in his tuxedo, he looks exhausted. Untied bow tie hangs from his collar. He appears lost and drawn. He stops a few feet away and requests another conversation. Not looking up from my clipboard. I say we're done talking. I must return my team home and kitchen equipment. He approaches and says he must talk to me. Only 6 minutes. Finally, I look at him and say we have nothing to talk about. His wedding ended. My work is done. I don't care what he's feeling. He runs his hand through his hair and realizes he married Madeline today was a mistake. He says, seeing me made him realize his loss. He wants to know if we can reconnect. Maybe start over. Maybe try again now that we're older and wiser. These words don't affect me. No anger, satisfaction, or temptation, just tired irritation that he's still blaming me for his emotional crisis. I insist there's no chance. I'm not interested in being his backup or escape from his own mistakes. I don't want to be his safe, comfortable fallback when excitement fails. I lived well without him. I don't need him. I'm not including him. He looks downcast like I broke him. What should he do now? How does he fix this? Look at him one last time as I close my clipboard. I tell him it's not my issue. He must figure out his life without me. He chose. He left our marriage. Today he married another. He must face those consequences. No longer his wife. I'm not his pal. I'm the great caterer he hired who's leaving. I leave him and get in my van. Harper waits in the passenger seat. I start the car and leave the parking lot while he's still lost under the garden lights. As I drive away, I feel lighter than in years. A 3-year burden lifted. Not loving him. Not hating him. Not thinking about him. He was a former friend whose decisions I now appreciate. I became a proud person after my divorce. Strong, capable, successful. Built something real from nothing. Harper and I clean my commercial kitchen under fluorescent lights, which we've done 100 times. While she scrubs the prep station with hot soapy water, I inventory the serving platters we brought back from the venue. My hands perform familiar tasks automatically, and my mind is surprisingly quiet. Harper looks up from the sink and says she's never seen me handle a situation or look over someone more professionally. I laugh at her accuracy. Today ended a 3-year divorce. I got closure I didn't know I needed. Exhausted but satisfied, I lock up the kitchen at midnight after packing up the last of the equipment. The 20-minute drive home through empty streets triggers memories of leaving my ex-husband in that parking lot. I felt light and final. I drink wine and walk out to my apartment balcony to watch the downtown lights after coming home late. Sitting in the cheap plastic chair I keep meaning to replace, I pull my sweater tighter in the cool night air. My life is so different from 3 years ago when I was crying in a hotel room with divorce papers and no idea what to do. I built a proud business on determination and cooking. My reputation grew in this industry. I gained independence I never had in my marriage. When his career, choices, and needs ruled. Sipping my wine, I watch cars pass on the street below and am grateful for the path that brought me here, even though it hurt so much. The next morning, my phone buzzes with notifications. Victoria, the wedding planner, sent 3 referrals from guests who attended yesterday's wedding and want quotes for their own events. She included their praise for the food and presentation. Margaret also sent me information about the corporate catering contract. She requested a meeting with the client next week and says they're interested after hearing her recommendation. Harper texts me again asking if I saw the online review while I'm in bed reading these messages. I click the link she sent and find a 5-star review of yesterday's wedding food and service. Reviewer calls it the best wedding meal ever, praising the perfectly cooked scallops and dessert table variety. I screenshot our website and social media reviews. Being proud of our work, despite personal drama, my ex-husband's name appears on my phone when it rings. Leave it on voicemail. He calls again 6 minutes later, then again, then 4 times in an hour. I block his number without reading his messages. I don't need his regrets or confusion about yesterday. I don't need to join his marriage's first 3 6-hour crisis. That's no longer my job. I won't help him emotionally anymore. I read referral emails at my kitchen table while making coffee and toast and responding with availability and pricing. This matters now. Building my business, satisfying clients, and giving my team opportunities. I meet Margaret and her corporate client downtown the following week. I'm in my best business clothes and carrying my portfolio of event photos and menus. Tech client holds executive dinners and networking events. They need an experienced caterer for 12-person meals and large company events. I show pricing tiers and menu options and show examples of successful events I've catered. They ask good questions about my team's experience and company's flexibility. Margaret repeatedly praises my reliability and quality, recalling my time with her and how she helped my business grow. They offer me the contract immediately with better terms than I expected after the meeting. Full-year commitment with a minimum number of events per month and premium pricing that matches their service expectations. I signed the corporate contract in their conference room, excited. This is my company's turning point. I get stable income for the next year and prestigious exposure to attract high-end clients. The tech company's business connections give it credibility I couldn't buy with advertising. That night, I celebrate with my team at a nice restaurant without cooking or serving. Harper and my other staff members' professionalism made this opportunity possible. Their dependability and positivity earned them this contract. We toast to the future, and I feel like I'm finally building something lasting. Emily, Madeline's wedding maid of honor, messages me on social media 3 days later. She tells me Madeline and my ex-husband are in couples therapy and trying to fix their rocky marriage. She thanks me for being honest with Madeline at the wedding. She claims it made her friends ask real questions about her wants instead of competing with an imaginary me. I appreciate the update, but I tell Emily I don't want to know about their relationship. I wish them well, but I need boundaries for my own peace of mind. I no longer care about their marriage or issues. Emily quickly says she understands and respects my position. She hopes we can stay in touch professionally because she plans events for her company and liked my wedding work. I consent, and we exchange business contact information professionally. 10 weeks later, my business is thriving in ways I never imagined 3 years ago. Corporate contracts provide steady work between weekend events. That complicated day's wedding referrals keep bringing me more bookings than I can handle. I can't take more clients because my calendar is full and my staff is short. I hire 2 more team members and train them on my food quality and customer service standards. I also consider larger kitchens because we're outgrowing our current one. We're always working around each other to prepare for big events, because storage is full. I visit 3 commercial kitchens for lease and calculate the cost of expansion versus the revenue it would generate. The larger kitchen in an industrial area near downtown was my choice. It costs more than my current place, but the extra space and professional equipment make it worth it. I sign a 4-year lease and plan the move with my team. We schedule it for a slow October week with 2 small events. Harper organizes packing and labeling while I notify vendors and clients of the new address. After 5 days, we're operational in the new space by Monday. The kitchen is much larger than before. We have prep stations for different cuisines, walk-in refrigerators that fit all our inventory, and proper storage for equipment that used to pile up in corners. On our first morning, I stand in the empty kitchen and feel proud of the business's 3-year growth. 1 month after moving into the new kitchen, Richard walks into a small downtown restaurant where I'm having lunch. He immediately spots me and asks to join me at my table. I agree. And he sits tired but friendly. He says his daughter's marriage is hard. Their couples therapy is twice a week. And Madeline has individual sessions. He says she's working on herself and asking hard questions about her life goals instead of competing with others. He nods when I say I'm glad she's getting help, then thanks me again for my wedding management. My professionalism in a difficult situation impressed him, and he's recommended my company to several business associates. 2 have booked events with us for next quarter. Thank you for the referrals. He says I earned them through quality work and respects people who maintain standards under pressure. After a few more minutes discussing catering, he goes to his table. I finish my lunch wondering why Madeline's father is a better connection than my ex-husband. My corporate client calls early November. Their contact person says they want to extend our contract for another year and add quarterly executive retreats to our monthly events. The new terms guarantee work for 12 months and triple my revenue from last year. I party inside but stay calm on the phone. This contract alone could keep my business going if wedding bookings dropped. I promise to submit a formal proposal by the end of the week, and we meet to finalize details. I call Harper into my office to tell her the news after hanging up. She hugs me and says, "This is exactly what we've been working toward. The stability that lets us plan long-term instead of scrambling for the next booking." We update our capacity planning and discuss hiring another full-time cook to handle the increased volume in the afternoon. By December, my business revenue has reached levels I never imagined 3 years ago. I'm earning more than I did in my marriage, saving, and planning ahead. I look at apartments in nicer neighborhoods, with more space and amenities than the small rental I moved into after the divorce. I find a quiet 2-bedroom unit with good natural light and a kitchen that doesn't feel like work. Though the rent is higher than ever, I can afford it without stress. 2 weeks after signing the lease in January, I furnish it to my liking. I pick a couch based on fabric, not leather. I choose happy art over neutral prints. I buy dishes and colors I like. This space feels like mine, unlike my married home. I make every decision based on my preferences without considering others. Harper becomes kitchen manager in February with a big raise and more say in operations. After 3 years of hard work and good judgment, she deserves it. I've built more than a business. My team respects each other and works well together. My professional relationships are stronger than my marriage. No pretending or performing, just clear expectations and appreciation for everyone's contributions. Harper thanks me for the promotion and says she's learned more here than in culinary school. I thank her for her quality work and for being part of our team. An event at the same venue is booked 7 months after the wedding. Raj Patel arrives to coordinate service timing while I'm making appetizers. He mentions casually that my ex-husband and Madeline divorced after 5 months. News hits me differently than expected. My only feeling is mild curiosity about whether he learned anything from the pattern. Raj Patel expects more response, so I shrug and say that's unfortunate but not my problem. We discuss the evening's plans after he nods. Later, while my team serves dinner, I think about how distant that part of my life feels. They married and divorced in a world I no longer live in. I created something better myself. 2 weeks later, 3 mutual friends message me. My ex-husband has been trying to reach me. They all say he's divorced and wants to apologize and reconnect, since we're both single. I reply the same to all three friends. Neither contact nor relationship with him interests me. That part of my life is over. I say it without anger or bitterness, just as a fact. One friend counters that he seems sincere about making amends and I should listen. I tell her I don't owe him my time or attention and that moving on means moving forward, not reverting. She finally accepts my boundary and stops spreading his messages. In April, I meet someone at a corporate event I cater. The same client's marketing consultant is funny, smart, and confident without needing to prove anything. He asks for my card before leaving after discussing work and industry trends during cocktail hour. 3 days later, he emails to arrange coffee. A date request, not a business meeting. I agree. We spend 2.5 hours at a cafe near my apartment that weekend talking about everything except work. After 3 years of divorce, he has a good relationship with his ex-wife and is honest about his marriage's problems without victimizing himself. It's nice to start something new with someone who knows me as a successful business owner rather than a supporting character. His only knowledge of my past is what I share. No history or old wounds to overcome. June marks the 5th anniversary of my business. My revenue is 6 times my first year. I have 9 employees and a waiting list of clients. I host a party at the new kitchen for staff and key clients to eat food we made together. Margaret brings a bottle of expensive wine and toasts my success, saying she knew I could do it. Richard and his wife attend and tell others how professional I was in difficult situations. Victoria brings 2 other regular wedding planners. The room fills with people who respect my work and want to help it grow. I feel proud of our accomplishments as I look around the celebration. In July, Margaret calls to arrange lunch. She says she's retiring at the end of the year after 35 years in catering. She trusts my company to uphold her reputation for quality and integrity, so she wants to refer all her clients to me. I admire her confidence and am overwhelmed by the growth opportunity. Her clients include the region's top events. Taking them on would boost my company to a level I hadn't planned for 5 years. After 4 years of watching me work, she knows I have the skills and character to do it. We discuss transition plans and review her client files in the afternoon. After lunch, I'll take her referrals in January. In August, a local business magazine contacts me about including my story in an article about entrepreneurs who rebuilt after major life struggles. I accept the interview and spend an afternoon candidly discussing how divorce revealed my talents. A reporter asks how I went from devastated and starting over to a successful business in 5 years. My path wasn't easy. I had to value my work and stop measuring my worth by others' approval. I'm in the new kitchen with my chef coat in the September article. Potential clients who read the story and want to book events email me within a week. Our booking calendar must be updated to show we're full through spring as my website traffic quadruples. The marketing consultant asks me to make our relationship official and exclusive over dinner at a small Italian restaurant. Ethan has been patient with my reluctance to label or move quickly. It feels good and healthy and fits who we are, so I say yes. We talk openly about my divorce and his past relationships, building trust through honesty rather than fantasy. He tells me about his ex-girlfriend who cheated on him during a business trip and how it took him 3 years to feel ready to date again. I tell him about supporting my ex-husband through graduate school and career changes only to be left for someone younger and more exciting. Ethan reaches across the table and squeezes my hand, saying he's glad we both learned what we didn't want before we found each other. The conversation feels easy and real in ways my marriage never did. 2 adults building something together instead of one person constantly adjusting to accommodate the other. 1 month later, I cater a small 80-person wedding at a historic mansion for one of Victoria's clients. The menu features seasonal ingredients and creative plating that showcases my team skills. During the cocktail hour, Victoria pulls me aside and tells me I'm her favorite vendor to work with because I'm reliable, creative, and handle pressure with grace. She says the disaster wedding where we met actually showcased my professionalism better than a smooth event ever could. That she watched me maintain quality and composure when everything was falling apart around me. The compliment means more than I expected, and I thank her for the continued referrals and partnership. She asks if I'm available for a corporate gala in October, and I check my calendar on my phone and confirm the date. We discuss menu options while my team serves the main course, and I feel genuine pride in the reputation I've built through consistent excellent work. My business is stable and growing with the corporate contract, providing steady income and wedding season bookings filling every weekend through next spring. My personal life is healthy and honest with Ethan, and I'm building something based on mutual respect and genuine compatibility. I've built genuine confidence in my abilities and worth that doesn't depend on anyone else's validation or approval. I think about the woman I was 3 years ago, devastated and starting over with nothing but a suitcase and cooking skills, crying in a tiny apartment and wondering how I'd survive. I'm grateful for the journey that brought me here, even though it was painful and terrifying at the time. The divorce forced me to discover capabilities I didn't know I had, pushed me to build something entirely my own instead of supporting someone else's dreams. I wake up most mornings feeling proud of my life instead of anxious about whether I'm doing enough or being enough for someone else. I'm planning the menu for next month's events at my desk in the commercial kitchen when I realize I haven't thought about my ex-husband in weeks. He's become just a chapter in my history rather than a defining feature of my identity or a wound that still bleeds when touched. I built something real from the ruins of that marriage. Discovered strength and capability I never knew I had during all those years of making myself smaller. The life I have now is genuinely mine in ways my married life never was, shaped by my choices and priorities instead of constant compromise and accommodation. I look at the calendar filled with bookings and the staff schedule showing my growing team and feel satisfaction that has nothing to do with proving anything to anyone. I built this from scratch. What I created when I stopped waiting for someone else to validate my worth or tell me I was.